"Excuse me? We asked for the assistant, not the cleaning lady." The words snapped across the boardroom so hard that even the glass water pitcher seemed to stop catching light. A few people laughed, not loudly, just enough. The kind of laughter rich people used when they wanted cruelty to sound efficient. At the far end of the walnut conference table, the old woman stood with one hand resting on the handle of a gray service cart. A folded microfiber cloth hung over the edge beside a spray bottle and a stack of untouched coffee cups. She was small, silver-haired, and straight-backed, dressed in plain black slacks, soft shoes, and a beige housekeeping cardigan with no name tag. She looked like someone who had come in early to wipe fingerprints from the windows before the real meeting began, which was exactly what made Daniel Mercer smile the way he did. He sat in the center seat, broad-shouldered in a navy suit that cost more than most people's rent, cufflinks flashing as he spread a deck of leasing projections across the polished table. Regional Managing Director, 39, Ivy trained, ruthless in the smooth, bloodless way that made assistants cry in bathroom stalls and junior analysts apologize for breathing too loudly. He did not stand. He did not need to. Men like Daniel believed rooms rose for them internally. "Who let her in here?" he asked, not to the woman, but to the room itself. "Marta? Security? Is this seriously where we are now?" At the wall near the digital screen, a young executive coordinator named Lena half lifted her hand, then lowered it again. She had seen the old woman step off the private elevator 20 minutes earlier, had seen her moving slowly through the executive floor, wiping baseboards with almost theatrical care, pausing near open doors, listening. Lena had assumed she was one of the overnight facilities staff covering an early shift. So had everyone else. Now, every vice president around the table watched with the bored appetite of people grateful someone weaker had arrived before the numbers turned on them. The old woman said nothing. Daniel leaned back. "Ma'am, this floor is restricted. If you're looking for the pantry, it's outside and to the left. If you're looking for someone to tell you what to clean, ask facilities. Adults are working." A few more smiles. Someone coughed into a fist to hide a laugh. Near the window, Robert Chen, one of the only senior board members old enough to remember the company before its London expansion, went very still. His face changed by less than an inch, but it was enough. His hand flattened over the leather folio in front of him. He knew that cardigan. Not literally, symbolically. He knew theater when he saw it. And he knew exactly one person on Earth bold enough to enter her own boardroom dressed as invisible labor. He prayed Daniel would stop talking. Daniel did not. The old woman guided the cart forward another foot, wheels whispering over the thick carpet. Her eyes moved over the room once, not meekly, but with the calm pace of someone inventorying a property she already owned down to the wiring in the walls, which, in a way, she did. Whispers had followed her name for 40 years in cities she rarely announced herself in. Hong Kong, Vancouver, Singapore, London, San Francisco. Towers bought during panic. Districts rebuilt after collapse. Shopping centers rescued, repositioned, made profitable again. Entire skylines touched by her instincts before competitors even noticed the land had soul. Staff in older divisions still spoke of her like weather or war. Not because she was loud, because she was always there first. Seeing rot before anyone else admitted they smelled it. Madame Jo does not enter a room twice for the same problem, some said. Others said if she visited a property herself, someone was about to become unemployed. But most of the younger executives had never met her. They knew only decks, valuations, press photos from 15 years ago, a blurred image from an anniversary gala, a legend reduced by distance into branding language. Founder, chairwoman emerita, global portfolio visionary. They had never imagined old age in orthopedic shoes. Daniel tapped the table twice. "Hello? Did you hear me?" The old woman finally looked at him fully. Her face was lined, elegant, unreadable, not fragile, never fragile. She had the kind of stillness that made noise around her sound temporary. "I heard you," she said. Her voice was soft, clear enough to cross the room without effort. And that, more than anything, unsettled Lena. There was no apology in it, no panic, no service smile, just acknowledgement, as if Daniel had spoken the way a barking dog spoke through a gate. He misread the silence as permission. "This is a board strategy session," he said. $7 billion in assets under review. We are discussing acquisitions in 3 continents. You do not belong at this table." The old woman's hand left the cart. I know, she said. Robert closed his eyes briefly. A side villain named Gavin Pike, head of operations for North America, and Daniel's favorite echo smirked into his coffee. Maybe she thinks this is the housekeeping briefing. That one got a bigger laugh. Lena felt her stomach drop. She had heard versions of this before. At hotels, at developer dinners, in offices where older Asian women were treated like decor until someone needed tea. Usually the woman lowered her head. Usually the room kept its shape. Usually nothing happened except another human being absorbed the insult and made herself smaller so payroll could continue uninterrupted. The old woman did not get smaller. Daniel spread his hands. There it is. Problem with this company now? No standards. Everyone thinks access is the same thing as authority. It isn't. He glanced at Lena. Please escort her out, nicely if she cooperates. Lena opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The old woman saved her. No, she said, one word. Not loud, but it landed strangely, like a judge setting down a glass. Daniel blinked, then laughed, once in disbelief. No? She turned from him and let her gaze travel the length of the room, over the mahogany shelving, over the city beyond the windows, over the executives, their watches, their little performance faces. When she spoke again, it was almost conversational. I like to see my buildings before people know I am in them, she said. Elevators, lobbies, loading docks, restrooms, how security greets the cleaners, how managers speak when they think no one important is present. No one moved. Gavin's smile thinned. Robert lowered his eyes to hide the fact that he nearly smiled. The old woman touched the edge of the conference table with 2 fingers, like reacquainting herself with a familiar piece of furniture. This morning, she continued, I watched a porter hold a door for a tenant and get ignored. I watched a receptionist insult an accent she thought was out of earshot. I watched 2 analysts stand when a white investor entered and remain seated when an elderly Asian woman did. Her eyes returned to Daniel. And now I have watched you confuse labor with low value. The room had gone so quiet the hum of the air system came forward. Daniel sat up straighter, annoyed now rather than amused. Who exactly do you think you are? The old woman looked at him for a long moment. Then she gave the smallest glance toward Robert Chen. It was not a plea. It was permission. Robert rose at once, and the room, without understanding why, began to feel afraid. Robert Chen rose so quickly his chair struck the credenza behind him with a hard wooden crack. No one in the room had ever seen him move that fast. He was 71, usually measured to the point of invisibility. But now he stood with both hands flat on the table, eyes fixed not on Daniel Mercer, not on Gavin Pike, but on the old woman beside the service cart. Madame Zhou, he said, voice suddenly formal. My apologies, I should have met you in the lobby myself. The room changed shape, first confusion, then panic. Lena looked from Robert to the woman in the cardigan and felt the blood rush from her face. Gavin's smirk cracked. Daniel did not stand right away. He stayed seated for one fatal extra second, still trying to shrink the moment into something that could not destroy him. Madame Zhou. The name moved around the room in broken whispers. Founder. Chairwoman. The old woman did not acknowledge them. She only looked at Robert with calm familiarity. Good morning, Robert, she said. Every person at that table stood, not from courtesy, from survival. Daniel rose last. His chair legs dragged loudly against the floor. Briefly, he tried to smile, as if this could still become a misunderstanding. Mrs. Zhao, he said, smoothing his jacket, if we had known you were visiting, obviously we would have. No, she said. Again, it stopped the room. You would not have. That is why I came this way. No one breathed. Daniel tried anyway. There seems to have been a breakdown in communication, he said. We were in the middle of a sensitive meeting, and I was protecting the integrity of the room. Gavin nodded too quickly. Exactly. Protocol. Access control. Madame Zhao turned toward them with almost gentle interest. Integrity, she repeated. Daniel seized on it. Yes. You mocked an elderly worker in front of your peers. His mouth opened, closed. She went on. You assumed service meant insignificance. You assumed age meant weakness. You assumed an Asian woman in plain clothes could be ordered away. Now no one looked at Daniel. They looked at her. Robert stepped aside, yielding the center of the room to its rightful owner. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, this is founder, majority owner, and executive chair Lin Zhou, who built this company from one distressed building in Vancouver into one of the largest private property groups in the world. Silence. This was collapse beginning to understand itself. Madame Zhou folded her hands lightly before her. 28 countries, 412 major properties, tens of thousands of staff, and somehow this room still produces men surprised that the woman who built it can enter without permission. A vice president near the screen made an involuntary sound. Someone else lowered into a chair without meaning to. Daniel's face had gone pale in patches. I sincerely apologize if my tone... If, Robert asked. Daniel turned, stunned that Robert had interrupted him. Robert did not blink. You were not misunderstood, Daniel. You were accurately observed. Gavin attempted a weak laugh. Let's not make this bigger than it is. No one knew. We were reacting to appearances. Madame Zhou looked at him. Yes, she said. That is the indictment. The words dropped like stones. Gavin's hands twitched at his sides. I only meant... You meant exactly what you said, she replied. Prepared language is costume. Reflex is character. Several people lowered their eyes. Daniel tried a different angle. Mrs. Zhou, with respect, my record speaks for itself. I've increased yield, improved occupancy, cut waste. Cut waste, she said quietly. Is that what you call people when they are not in the room? His lips parted. He had said something like that about older staff, about immigrant maintenance teams. That frightened him more. Madame Zhou turned to Lena. What is your name? Lena Morales, ma'am. Were you afraid to speak? Yes. Why? Lena swallowed. Because in this office, when people like him decide what you are, correcting them usually makes it worse. No one moved. Daniel made the mistake of scoffing. A sound. But in a silent room, it was a confession. Madame Zhao's gaze slid back to him. And still you wonder why I came disguised. She set the spray bottle aside, pulled out the chair at the head of the table, and sat down. Then she looked at the quarterly deck Daniel had prepared, turned 2 pages, and said, Before I decide who leaves this company today, explain why this acquisition model assumes vacancy tolerance in markets your own site teams already warned you are politically unstable. Daniel stared. His mouth opened again, but this time nothing came out. Madame Zhao tilted her head. No answer? Robert did not save him. Gavin did not save him. The room did not save him. Daniel reached for the deck with fingers that no longer looked steady. We based that projection on regional advisement and trend modeling. From whom? He hesitated. She glanced at page 3. You ignored Manila, you discounted Sao Paulo, you stripped the Nairobi risk notes entirely, and you signed your name beneath all of it. Daniel's throat worked. Madame Zhou looked around the table. So, cruel and careless. That is an expensive combination. Nobody laughed now. Nobody whispered. The room had become exactly what Daniel claimed to protect, an integrity test, and he was failing it in public. Daniel's hand tightened on the edge of the table as if the polished wood might steady him. It didn't. The room had already shifted beyond his reach. Madame Zhao did not raise her voice. She didn't need to. Authority, real authority, did not shout. It arranged reality until everyone else had no choice but to recognize it. She closed the deck in front of her. Stand, she said. Daniel hesitated. Robert did not. Neither did Lena. One by one, the rest followed, until Daniel realized too late that sitting made him look smaller than he already was. He pushed his chair back and rose, the scrape loud, clumsy, exposed. Madame Zhou remained seated, looking up at them, measuring. Let us be precise, she said. This is not about embarrassment. This is not about tone. This is about judgment. She let the word hang. Judgment determines who we hire, who we trust, who we promote, and today, your judgment has failed at every level. Gavin swallowed hard. Mrs. Zhou, if we can just take a moment to... No. He stopped. She turned her gaze on him fully now, and whatever weak scaffolding he had built around his confidence collapsed. You laughed, she said. You reinforced. You amplified. That is your role, yes? Gavin opened his mouth, closed it, nodded once, almost invisibly. Yes, she said. You are an echo, and echoes are only valuable when the original sound has merit. A few people shifted their weight. No one spoke. Madame Zhou looked back to Daniel. You lead this room. He straightened instinctively. Yes. And yet you cannot distinguish between position and value. His lips trembled slightly. I made a mistake. No, she said. You revealed a pattern. The words landed heavier. Daniel's eyes flickered, searching for support. He found none. Not from Robert. Not from Gavin. Not from anyone who had laughed 10 minutes ago. Madame Zhou folded her hands. I built this company by entering rooms where no one thought I belonged, she said. Not once, thousands of times. I was dismissed, interrupted, redirected, smiled at, spoken over, and every time I made a note. Silence. I learned that the greatest risk to any system is not incompetence, it is arrogance paired with blindness. She leaned back slightly, and today you have both. Daniel's shoulders dropped, the fight left him in a visible wave. I'm sorry, he said. It was quiet. Real. Too late. Madame Zhao regarded him for a long moment. Yes, she said, you are. Then she turned to Robert. Effective immediately, she said. Daniel Mercer is removed from his position as regional managing director. The words did not echo, they absorbed. Daniel inhaled sharply, as if the air itself had changed composition. This is my career, he said, not loudly but desperately. I've given everything to this company. Madame Zhao did not soften. You gave performance, she said, like not character. Robert nodded once, already reaching for his phone. HR will formalize it within the hour, he said. Daniel looked around the room. No one met his eyes. Not one. Gavin stepped forward half a pace. Mrs. Zhou, with respect, if this is about culture, we can implement corrective training, review protocols. She raised a hand. He stopped. You are also removed, she said. The words hit him harder than Daniel's. His face drained instantly. For cause? He asked, voice thin. For clarity, she replied. He stared at her. I do not retain leaders who require training to recognize basic human value. Gavin's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Madame Zhou looked past them now, scanning the rest of the room. Anyone who laughed, she said calmly, will remain standing. No one moved. Then, slowly, 3 people shifted. A fourth, a fifth. Small movements, reluctant, exposed. Madame Zhou watched them. Honesty is the first step, she said. Sit. They obeyed immediately, relief flooding their faces in uneven waves. She turned to Lena. You spoke truth, she said. Stay where you are. Lena froze. Yes, ma'am. Madame Zhao nodded once. Robert, she said, initiate a full cultural audit across all executive floors. Anonymous reporting, third-party oversight. I want to see what this company looks like when fear is removed from the reporting chain. It will be done, Robert said. She looked back at Daniel. He stood very still now, not defiant, not composed, just still, as if motion itself might break whatever remained of him. You will receive your severance according to contract, she said. Nothing more. You will not represent this company again. He nodded once, a small broken motion. Gavin looked between them, then down at his hands. This was a mistake, he whispered. Madame Zhou heard him. Yes, she said, and now it is a consequence. No one argued. No one protested. The hierarchy had flipped so completely it felt like gravity had changed direction. Madame Zhou stood, slowly, deliberately, and when she did, the room instinctively made space. She stepped away from the head of the table and toward the service cart she had brought in herself. Her hand rested on it again, lightly, familiar, grounded. For 40 years, she said, this company has grown because we saw what others ignored, value in overlooked places, strength in dismissed people, and opportunity where others saw inconvenience. She looked at each of them, one by one. We do not lose that because a few men become comfortable. No one moved. No one even shifted. Clean your own rooms, she said quietly. Learn what it feels like to serve before you presume to lead. Then she turned to Lena. Walk with me. Lena blinked. Yes, ma'am. They moved together toward the door. Behind them, no one spoke. No one dared. Daniel remained standing at the table, hands at his sides, eyes unfocused, as if the world he understood had been quietly removed and replaced with something far less forgiving. Gavin stared at the floor. Robert watched them go, and the rest of the room stood in the silence that followed, feeling something unfamiliar settle over them. Not fear. Not exactly. Something sharper. Accountability. The door closed softly behind Madame Zhao, and for the first time since the meeting began, no one in the room knew what to say. If Madame Zhao's story stayed with you, don't just watch, act. Share this with someone who's ever been mistaken for less than they are. Then look closer. The woman cleaning your office, the older employee no one listens to, the quiet professional passed over in meetings. Respect isn't a title, it's perception, and perception can fail. Build environments where people are judged by what they do, not how they look, sound, or enter a room. Challenge arrogance when you see it, especially when it's normalized. Support leadership that values character as much as performance. Comment below with moments where someone underestimated you or where you saw the truth too late. Subscribe to Beyond the Model Minority for more stories where silence breaks and truth takes its place. Because power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it walks in unnoticed. Invisible authority, quiet power, respect earned.